Hi everyone, Mark Capitas here for another Word Music Digital reading session, this time featuring Hope Arriving, an Advent worship experience. And with me in our studios today, David Hamilton. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Mark. Great to be here.
Great to have you here. And David, of course, is the arranger and co-creator of this work, along with Christy Semsen, who wrote the narrative. And David, when this first came about, we started talking about how some evangelical churches have started to embrace Advent now more than ever. Certainly the mainline church has embraced Advent forever, it seems, but some evangelical churches are getting into it. So we thought that it might be an interesting thing to create a work such as Hope Arriving, which takes the Advent traditions and puts it in a slightly contemporary sense. And that's what you've done here, David. Was that a good experience for you?
I really did enjoy it. I have a wonderful appreciation and a love of the liturgical style of worship and the rich history of liturgy. It's not what I tend to do in my own church each week, but I have learned about it, especially even looking back to my college days. And so it was really, really fun to think about that and try to bring that into a context that maybe some folks aren't used to thinking about it and worshiping in that way. And so
absolutely, and you've done it beautifully as always. It's always an honor to have you, David, as part of the Word family, as contributing. And the opening song to the work is a setting of the ancient of the Father's Love Begotten. What did you do on this one?
I've always loved that melody, and it has such a sort of mysterious, kind of awesome feeling to it, and it's come down through such an amazing history. But I thought it would be great to put it in a little different context, so we decided to write a new chorus to go with it that was much more of a contemporary worship song, and I tried to blend the two of those together, sort of take it out of its original context that most people know it, and maybe give it a new life.
Absolutely, you did so beautifully, intact with the original. Here is the opening to Hope Arriving of the Father's Love Begotten. It is with great hope and expectation that we enter into one of the most powerful remembrances of the Christian calendar year, the season of Advent. We remember the hope that the prophets had as they waited in expectation for a Messiah, longing for a Savior to bring peace and hope to a broken world.
As we remember Israel's longing for a Savior, our hearts are turned toward our own longing to know and experience the miracle of God's gift once again. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. Isaiah 9:2.
Of the Father's love begotten, ere the worlds began to be. He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending be. Of the things that are, that have been, and that future you shall see, evermore and ever.
Well, up next, David, is Tiny Little Town. I love that title, and what you've done with it is a lot of fun. Talk about that one.
Well, Mark, I wanted to write a song that was just a little bit different than we see all the time, and I thought it'd be fun to write something a cappella. And my first thought was to try to write something that was a little bit leaning toward some of the tradition of the Negro spirituals. I sang so many of those in college, and many of us that are in music choral programs have. And so I began to think and write that way. But as it came together, I realized that, it would be actually even more fun than that, is to make it a little bit more of a contemporary feel. So decided to put the percussion loop with it. I think about some of the popular shows like Glee right now, and the song show like the Sing Off, and there's just a lot of fun stuff happening with some a cappella groups, and so it sort of shifted in my mind a little bit. But I just wanted to do something that would be just pure joy and fun to do and a little bit different. I also thought it was a challenge to try to write lyrics that talked about the Advent theme, because so many of the Christmas songs are about Christ has come and he is here, or he is born, and Advent is really talking about Christ is coming, and we celebrate that in the 5 weeks that lead up into the final week right before Christmas. So it's a little bit of a challenge to try to write lyrics that were looking forward to Christ coming and not actually saying that he's here. And I found that to be a good challenge, but hopefully we were able to do that. Well,
Indeed you did. Indeed you did. So here is Tiny Little Town.
The promise spoken long ago echoes down through history, that God would send his only Son to set his children free. Where will the King of Kings be born? The blessed child on Christmas morn. Bethlehem, oh Bethlehem, in the tiny little town of Bethlehem. And where will the mother lay her child? In a lowly stable, meek and mild. Bethlehem, oh Bethlehem, in the tiny little town of Bethlehem. Hallelujah, hallelujah, he will come to make all things new, and hope arise on a holy night.
Well, up next, David, the Echo Carol, as it's called, How Great Our Joy. Talk about that.
Love this carol, always have, and I thought it would be really great to do something that was going from thinking about tiny little town over here. Now we're going to take a big turn and do something really different over here. And I wanted to do something on the project that was quite traditional, and I've always just loved the brass and organ, and particularly at Christmas time, so much wonderful literature written that way. So I just tried to write an arrangement that was right down that road, with a very traditional approach for the choir and big, beautiful brass choir tones and the organ and the percussion.
It's very heroic. It really is. So here now is How Great Our Joy.
While by the sheep we watched at night, glad tidings brought an angel cried, how great our joy! Joy, joy, joy! Praise be the Lord in heaven on high, praise be the Lord in heaven on high. There shall be born, so he did say, in Bethlehem a child today, how great our joy.
Next, David, is kind of the Magnificat in a sense, not literally, but it's certainly that beautiful outpouring of Mary's heart in Be Born in Me. Talk about that one.
It's such a wonderful, wonderful song. I actually had the privilege of arranging that on the original recording, but the Story project, Francesca Battistelli sang that, and I still remember the very first time I got the song, and I just sat there and was sort of stunned by it. Just beautiful lyric and the emotion of it. So I thought it'd be a wonderful thing to translate into for church choirs, and it's just such an amazing lyric that Nicole wrote, expressing that heart of what Mary was saying and what we read in the Magnificat there. And so I just tried to take that same spirit of what was done on the original recording and translate it over. Also, I think it's a little bit unique that it's just written for the ladies' choir. We don't see a whole lot of things that are done just for the ladies, but it seems so appropriate with that lyric that, in fact, it really wouldn't have worked for the men to sing it. But I think it'll be a kind of a unique moment for folks to be able to have a moment for their ladies' choir to sing that. And do
Absolutely, absolutely. Here's the beautiful Be Born in Me.
Everything shadow, an angel or a warrior. If God is pleased with me, why am I so terrified? Someone tell me I am only dreaming. Somehow help me see with heaven's eyes. And before my head agrees, my heart is on its knees. Holy is He, holy is He. Blessed am I, be born in me. Be born in me. Trembling heart, somehow I believe that you chose me. I'll hold you in the beginning, you will hold me in the end. Every moment in the middle, make my heart your Bethlehem, be born in me.
David, you filled this work with a lot of familiar material, which is always appropriate at Christmas. In this next anthem, Let Us Adore Him, it has some familiar carols there as well.
Let Us Adore Him is basically a treatment of the classic Italian carol, Gesù Bambino. It was written by Pietro Jan, and I love the melody. I think it's one of these beautifully and brilliantly crafted songs, the way the melody goes in different keys and everything. But I've always loved that, and I thought it'd be a song that people know, but going on, oh boy, I haven't heard that in a long time, or oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that. It's also just a wonderful statement of, oh come, let us adore Him. So it's a wonderful statement for us to say as the final song of this, thinking about Christ coming, and we finally celebrate at the end the Christ candle, and
Right.
Christ is here, so we're going to worship. And so I just decided that would be a great way to go, and also put just a little bit of the traditional, oh come all you faithful, oh come let us adore Him in the middle of it.
Very nice. So here now is Let Us Adore Him.
When blossoms flower in the slopes upon a winter night, was born a child of Christmas rose, the King of love and light. The angels sang, the shepherds sang, the grateful earth rejoiced. And at His blessed birth, the stars their exaltation voiced. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us
So there we have a good listen to Hope Arriving. David, this is such an exciting work, and we're really thrilled to be publishing it. And you know, each anthem keys in on each separate Sunday of Advent. So there are 4 anthems, one for each Sunday of Advent, plus a 5th anthem, which is for the Christ candle, and then some of the spoken narrative that Christy Semsen has written. It can be appropriate for families to read, different people to read, as often is the tradition in a lot of churches, where you'll have lay people read some of the narrative, and so that's all possible in the narration that threads hope arriving together. And also the instrumentation in the orchestration is very eclectic, isn't it, David?
It has a nice variety to it. I'm such a believer and so thankful for the gift of music that God gave us, that is so wide and varied, and there's so many different folks, you know, and so I tried to just sort of hit different things with that. It's not, every song is not written for the full orchestra and choir and rhythm section. There's a little bit of difference. How Great Our Joy, for instance, just the brass and the organ, and then the first song, Of the Father's Love Begotten, is a little more of a contemporary take with the rhythm section and the orchestra. And then you have Be Born in Me, which is a little bit more symphonic, just beautiful strings and winds and piano. And so I just tried to do a little bit of different thing on each time. I'd love to say special thanks to Christy, because I thought she did a beautiful job, and we talked a lot about the themes, and I really appreciate how what she brought to bringing out the theme of Advent and how we can sort of communicate that to our folks and worship together through that.
Exactly. And of course it can be performed as one complete work, or you can do it in sections during the season of Advent.
Right.
And during the season of Advent, we're offering a devotional booklet sold separately so that your choir members or church members can purchase this and use it as a personal devotion during the entire season of Advent, one devotion per each day of the season of Advent. We really want to make this a special experience for your entire church to usher in the season of Advent, which leads to, of course, the glorious season of Christmas. David, thank you so much for being here today for this digital reading session for Hope Arriving. Thanks for listening.